So no, I know him too well to understand that this is a charade.
What is your ultimate fear?
My fear is that.
So an ex-longtime friend of Elon Musk, that's Philip Lowe, has been exposing Elon's hidden agenda. And as he said in this post in January, I have known Elon Musk at a deep level for 14 years. We'll get into that post in a minute, but 60 Minutes Australia has interviewed him. So there's that video. And first, we'll go into a bit of background about these two, how they do know each other and have for a long time, and he really knows what Elon's about.
Video from a few years back.
I have two illustrious guests here with me. One is Philip Lowe, who's the inventor of the iBrain and founder and CEO of the company Neurovigil. Our other guest is Elon Musk, who really needs no introduction, but he's also at the helm of the private space company SpaceX. So thank you so much for joining me, guys.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
What was the moment that you decided that this was your mission, and how did you make that decision to investigate? So Philip, I'm going to start with you.
Sure. So, well, the thing is, I'm an accidental entrepreneur, and before that I was an accidental neuroscientist, and before that I was a mathematician. And then it wasn't until Stephen Hawking asked me to help him with his ALS that I became really involved in trying to access consciousness. We're helping some pharmaceutical companies come up with cleaner drugs. You know, that's exactly what we do.
What drives you? Like, when did you realize that this work was important, and sort of what's your personal motivation behind it?
Yeah, it was just when I was in college. I mean, I try to think, well, what are the things that are most going to affect the future of humanity? And I wanted to be involved in at least some of those things. I didn't expect to be involved in all of them. But mostly I just wanted to be involved in things that I thought would matter to the future.
So that's some background on it. The two have obviously known each other for a long time, worked together. That was a few years ago. You can tell by the video. Now let's see what was said on 60 Minutes Australia.
They're parading that he's saving taxpayers' money. What he's actually doing is he is defunding organizations that regulate his companies. So he is weakening the people who would have weakened him.
So where he says he's fighting for the American taxpayer.
Respectfully, I say that's bullshit. And just like when he calls himself a free speech absolutist, when he clearly is boosting certain voices on X, including his own, and shadow banning others, relatively speaking. So no, I know him too well to understand that this is a charade.
What is your ultimate fear?
My fear is that he is that he's manipulating President Trump to tear up the Constitution until he will tear up President Trump.
Okay, if you've been following my podcast, you'll know that these are the things that I've been saying and reporting on for many videos. All of those things that he said, I've talked about what Elon is really doing with DOGE, including helping himself and his companies and what he's doing with the government there. We'll get into a bit more of that, but let's look at what he actually said in this post. He laid it out. I'm not going to read it all out. You can take screenshots if you want, but he starts off, I have known Elon Musk at a deep level for 14 years, well before he was a household name. We used to text frequently. He would come to my birthday party and invite me to his parties. He would tell me everything about his women problems. As sons of highly accomplished men who married Venuses, were violent and lost their fortunes, and who were bullied in high school, we had a number of things in common most people cannot relate to. We would hang out together late in Los Angeles. He would visit my San Diego lab. He invested in my company. So they obviously know each other pretty well. He says Elon is not a Nazi per se. And this is what I've been saying too. I wouldn't call it a Nazi. I think he has turned into a fascist rather than a Nazi, authoritarian, tech authoritarian. I've been into that in other episodes, which I'll point to later. But Philip says he is something much better or much worse, depending on how you look at it. Nazis believed that an entire race was above everyone else. Elon believes he is above everyone else. He used to think he worked on the most important problems. When I met him, he did not presume to be a technical person. He would be the first to say that he lacked the expertise to understand certain data. Now he acts as if he has all the solutions. And I'm going to go on a little bit. I won't go through it all, but I think this is fascinating stuff. I find it fascinating. All his talk about getting to Mars to maintain the light of consciousness or about free speech absolutism is actually BS. Elon knowingly feeds people to manipulate them. Everything Elon does is about acquiring and consolidating power. There you have it. He just talked about free speech there. I've talked about on X, where he's at the top and it's like a tree. He boosts people that he wants to boost and buries the rest. That is not free speech. Far from it. He talks about freedom of reach rather than freedom of speech, and he does suppress speech over there for sure. So Philip says that is why he likes far-right parties, importantly, because they are easier to control. That is also why he gave himself $56 billion, which could have gone to the people actually doing the work and innovations he's taking credit for at Tesla. So that's his pay package that's been controversial. So I'll skip a little bit, but he says his lust for power is also why he did XAI and Neuralink to attempt to compete with OpenAI and Neurovigil, respectively, despite being affiliated with them. Unlike Tesla and Twitter, he was unable to conquer those companies and tried to create rivals. I fired him with cause in December 2021 when he tried to undermine NV. That was Philip's company. And as far as the Nazi salutes go, he says Elon did 2 Nazi salutes. He did them for 5 main reasons. I'm not going to go through all these, but it's interesting. It's not because he was a Nazi, but he did it on purpose, he thinks, and he had reasons to do this. Number 4 is he enjoys a good thrill and knew exactly what he was doing. His narcissistic self was hoping the audience would reflect his abject gesture back to him, thereby showing complete control and dominion over it and increasing his leverage over Trump. That did not happen. It has led to all the Tesla protests. It definitely did not happen. Another thing that he says further down is my point that he is transactional rather than ideological, which is an interesting thing, that he's trying to get what he wants, power and control, and he's transactional about it, not necessarily ideological. Philip says about himself, I know who I am. I'm certainly not envious and would definitely not want Elon's life, including living in a bubble and having to make one outlandish claim after another and manipulate the public, elections, and government to shore up my stock and prevent the bubble from bursting. Unlike Elon, I'm an actual scientist and inventor, and I'm not pretending to be someone I am not. He also says about Elon, he is the one who betrayed a number of his friends, including Sergey, I assume Sergey Brin from Google, and given his actions, many other people who believed him and believed in him. I have no sympathy for his behavior, and at some point, after having repeatedly confronted it in private, I believe the ethical thing to do is to speak out forcefully and unapologetically, whatever the risk may be, so as to not be part of the timid flock remaining silent where evil is being done, including propping up far-right governments around the world, in part to deregulate his companies and become the first trillionaire and otherwise to rule the planet. He knows Mars won't be terraformed in his lifetime, and he really wants his planet. No joke. Ethics matter, people matter, the truth matters. So he thinks Elon is up to no good. He's more concerned about Earth and having control here and money and power. He says, I will not stay silent. You should not be either. I am a sovereign individual and so are you. I stood up to bullies and am stepping out of the dark to do it again. Again, I can't believe I missed this post back in January. Where have I been? Now, if you're getting value out of this episode so far, I'd really appreciate it if you remember to hit that like button to help the algorithm to spread it to more people. Thanks. Now I'm going to get into a bit of commentary about this. This is from the I've Had It podcast where they unearthed this. I was watching the episode. I do like it. I like to spread the love about different podcasts I listen to, and I have been listening to this one. Let's listen to what they're saying about Elon and Philip Lowe here.
So this is Musk's former business partner, and all of the people that know Musk, that were friends with Musk, have a very similar autopsy on what's happening with him right now. And this is not happening in a vacuum. And MAGA is so drunk on capitalism and rich people doing nefarious things. They think Musk is cool. And this is incredibly dangerous, you guys. Time and time again, this theme keeps popping up. Tear up the Constitution. That is the goal here. Dismantling democracy is the goal. They broke the economy on purpose. They're doing all of this on purpose. They're dismantling all the institutions that help hold this country together and help give us leverage and leadership around the world. They're dismantling all of it on purpose.
Yes, I've talked about this before in other episodes. If you haven't thought about this or heard anything about this yet, then it might be a bit shocking to you about what he's doing with DOGE, dismantling the government from within. I've pointed to other podcasts like Dystopia Now that's talked about Peter Thiel, who's funded J.D. Vance and these tech right people, these tech billionaires like Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, Mark Andreessen. They have this ideology where they really aren't concerned about democracy at all. In fact, they're more tech authoritarian. They have said it for years in podcasts and in writings, and it's believed that that is what Elon is doing here. Not Doge, it's more rage. That is Curtis Yarvin's thing that he's been talking about, retire all government employees. And Elon definitely knows who that is. And Peter Thiel, it's his kind of court philosopher. They took up his philosophy, and Mark Andreessen has talked about him before. And these people are at the top levels of the government advising Trump, and Elon being right in there actually doing it. So I'll point to a few episodes where I've talked about that. But right now, let's hear a little bit more.
I think that they both want to break democracy. They both want to consolidate power. And
they're talking about Trump and Elon here together.
There's going to be this power struggle. And then that makes you look at these other dark actors in play, like Peter Thiel, who we know J.D. Vance is very connected to. And you start looking at all of these other dark forces behind it and how it's going to play out. But I know at the end of it, the unified goal between like Thiel, Musk, Trump, they all want to break democracy. They all want to break the Constitution. It's just who gets to have the prize at the end. Who gets to sit in the iron chair? That's the thing we're going to have to sit and watch. But sadly, this country and our standing, I don't know how you recover from something like this short of an immediate impeachment.
Yes, an immediate impeachment doesn't look like it's going to happen. But she's talking about the same things that I've talked about here, where they really do want to dismantle democracy. She's talking about ruining the economy, but really, Curtis Yarvin has talked about more of a dictatorship, how Americans have to get over democracy and more involved with dictatorship and have a CEO running the country with like Trump as the chair of the board and Elon running it, and Doge right in there dismantling government, whole government departments. It's not really about efficiency. Now, these are some previous episodes about this. If you want to catch up on it, if you've missed these, one is The Quiet Part Out Loud with Peter Thiel talking about this kind of thing, or what he really believes and what he's doing. He funded J.D. Vance into his position, and keeping in mind that when Trump goes, J.D. Vance could become president, and Thiel is right there with him, helped him get where he is. And J.D. Vance has talked about Curtis Yarvin in the past. He brings him up as well in conversations. This is another one that I made called The Nerd Reich, based on Gil Duran's investigative journalism about what these tech billionaires are doing. He's got a website, a very good website, and a podcast as well. And this is the one before that where I talked about the tangled web we weave, the money involved at the highest levels of government here that helped get Trump elected, including Peter Thiel and Elon Musk, of course, with that $270 or more million that he helped Trump get into power with, and Peter Thiel with J.D. Vance. So they have a lot of power, these right-wing tech billionaires. Now, while I'm talking about other content, I want to remind you about the other podcast I have started, the other channel, The Art of Value Politics, where it is more about broader subjects about politics, not just Elon Musk and these tech billionaires. There are 3 episodes over now. I'll put a link in the pinned comment if you want to go and check that out. The latest is about how Barack Obama has spoken up about Trump's autocracy, what he's doing in government. He can't be silent anymore. He's been watching, but he had to speak up. I'll put a link in the pinned comment if you want to see that. I'm going to put a related episode there, one of those episodes that I showed about this similar subject. Go and see that now if you want to. And do subscribe here if you're not subscribed yet to get more of these episodes in the future. And also go to that pinned comment and subscribe over at the Politics channel too if you want to. And thanks for watching this one, everyone. And I'll see you in the next one.